I'm going to need some volunteers. And I'm going to imagine there's going to be about 8 to 10 of you that'll volunteer for this. Tell me when it's 25 after, because I didn't bring my watch today and I don't have a clock. So, clock watchers. Y'all know me pretty good. And for the ones of you that don't know me, I usually tell you what I think. Sometimes you may not like it, sometimes you may agree, sometimes you may not agree. And my wife doesn't even know what I'm going to talk about. I never tell her. So it's a surprise. And I'll probably hear about it when I go home, but that's okay. Anyway, Thursday night, we were invited to, I'm going to call it an honor, what would you call it?
Academic award.
There you go, academic awards at the school. And you had to pre-register. And you were supposed to sit at the table, and they were going to feed you first, and then they were going to have some speeches, and then the certificates were passed out to the kids. Our grandkids were there and participated, which I'm really thankful for. But we didn't sign up for the meal because it says immediate family only.
Yes, we did sign up.
Did we sign up? Oh, I thought we did not. You said we had to go sit in the bleachers.
Well, we signed up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She told me what you was preaching on.
Wow. Anyway, we sat in the bleachers. There were 3 rows of bleachers. We were the only ones there in the bleachers. Everybody else was at the table. And before it started, this man walked up and he says, "Come and sit with us. We got room." Well, I didn't think we even had tickets, but apparently we did. So we got up and he directed us to the table, and I happened to be right in front of the podium, which was okay. And the neat part, this man was like us. We were the only ones sitting back here. This was the only man that was black. Kind, very kind to us. He walked clear across that whole gymnasium, escorted us to the front table. And it was time to eat. I told her, I said, "Well, we don't have tickets. We're not going to eat." And they all said, "Get up, get in line. You're going to eat." They treated us very nice. They really did. Then it came time for the guest speaker. That's where it changed for me. The lady got up. She said, "You know, I used to go to this school. I was in all kinds of sporting events. I did everything." She was queen of the class. She was important. She went to college. She was #1 there, etc. And now I have this job, my own office. I'm in a bank. She talked and talked about herself, what she had done. She never gave one word of advice to any of those kids to help them out. I thought, you know what? That lady was all about me. And that gave me a bad taste in my mouth right there. I thought, you got all these young kids and you can feed them full of wisdom. Nothing came out. Then the president of the school, slip of the tongue, was not on purpose, of the school came forward and he started talking. This school is the greatest. Our academics are high. Our percentage of kids that go to college is very high. When they're in college, they do very well. He kept going on and on and on. Take the hardest classes you can ever take in school. And then he finally got done. And I thought about it. I thought, what about the young man or woman that wants to go to school? They want to get out. They want to be a housewife. They want to be a farmer. Work at a packing plant. A carpenter. A mechanic. Cut trees. The list goes on and on. The people that want to work with their hands. I felt like to those people, they weren't important. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm not important to those people either. Because I've worked with my hands all my life.
Mommy.
And you're going, what's that got to do with what today is, Palm Sunday? And you'll find out in a little bit. Think about it. Think about Jesus, okay? God's up there in heaven. He knows he's going to send his son down for you and me. Who should I pick to be his mother and father? It wasn't a Pharisee. It wasn't a judge. It was a simple young girl, probably 15 years old, a virgin, who wanted to be a housewife. And the father wasn't a judge, wasn't a lawyer again, wasn't a doctor. He was a simple man, a carpenter, somebody that wanted to work with his hands. I see so many people that don't think they're important in God's eyes. But you know what? In God's eyes, everybody is important. So Mary and Joseph get married, as you well know, and you all know the story. Everybody is so busy, they've got not one room in that whole town for them to stay in. So they got to go out where the donkeys and the cows are. And if you ever been in one of those spots, it doesn't smell the best. It smells like manure and urine, etc. So Jesus is born. Who does God invite? The shepherds. Wasn't the innkeeper, wasn't the tax collectors, wasn't the judges, it was shepherds. The lowest of life form. So who did Jesus pick for disciples? Who did he start with? Common fishermen. People that used their hands. People that didn't think they were better than anybody else. Now don't get me wrong. I am totally in favor of going to school, to college. Be all you can be. But remember what Jesus said. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Don't think you're better than anybody else, because you're not. If Jesus were here today and he was going to pick disciples, I don't think he'd go to Congress or the senators. I think he would start in a room like this, and he would pick some of you to be his disciples. Jesus is anointed at Bethany, 6 days before the Passover. Jesus arrived at Bethany, where Lazarus lived. You know Lazarus, he's the one Jesus just raised from the dead. Here there was a dinner given in Jesus' honor. And Lazarus was there, sitting with Jesus. Martha, she was serving the food.
What?
Then Mary took about a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. This Mary, it's not the mother. It's a lady that had been living in sin. And Jesus forgave her sins. She took that nard, that perfume.
Eaten by me.
She walked up to Jesus. She knelt down, poured it on his feet, and then she washed and dried his feet with her hair. How many of us would do that if we had hair? I don't think I would have humbled myself to do that. Sad to say, but she did it. And then here comes one of the disciples, Judas Iscariot, son of Simon. He's telling Jesus, why is she doing that? That's a year's wages. We could have put it in our money bag and given it to the poor. Now he said that because he liked to dip his fingers into that money bag and take money. Judas was not a very honest man. And I didn't make that up because it says so right here. He says he used to help himself to what was put into the bag. And then Jesus replied, you know what? This is necessary for my burial. And you know what? We're always going to have the poor. But I'm not going to be with you much longer. And if we kept reading John, we'll come to the part that the kids know about. The triumphant entry. When Jesus comes into the gates, ride a colt. People are cheering and cheering. And yet, some of the people turned their back on him. Now we get to the hard part. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world, to go to his Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. It was time for the evening meal. Satan had already entered Judas. Judas decided, 30 pieces of silver? I'm going to tell him where Jesus is. And he's probably thinking, well, you know what? They'll probably let him go anyway. They probably won't hurt him. Well, he was wrong, as you all know. And we'll read more about that next week. But Jesus took a towel that he had wrapped around his waist. He called his disciples in. He knelt. He knelt on his knees in front of every disciple. He said, let me wash your feet. So we washed their feet, which is a low form of any human being. Only a servant would do that. He washed their feet. He took the towel and he dried their feet. Peter's turn. He walks up to Jesus Jesus goes, let me wash your feet. No way, teacher. You're not going to wash my feet. Jesus says, if I don't wash your feet, then you have no part of me. And Peter turns and says, well then, don't just wash my feet. Wash my whole body. We used to sing a song years ago. The young kids used to sing it, and I imagine Sheila was in that group when they sang it. If you want to be great in God's kingdom, you have to be servants of all. That's what Jesus did. He was the king, and yet he was a servant. Did he have to wash the disciples' feet? No way. He was king. He did it for you, and he did it for me. One of my goals in life is never to think I'm better or more important than anybody else. Because we're not. We're human beings. Read the Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are the peacemakers. This is what Jesus was. He didn't say, blessed are the troublemakers. He said, forgive as I have forgiven you.
We have one birthday,
Michael.
and he's way back by the sound system trying to duck down and never let anybody take his picture. Turning beet red. The women in his life are snowmobiles. Dennis came to that conclusion. So let's sing happy birthday to Michael. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Michael. May Jesus bless you. How old? 20?
20. Going to be 20. 20.
You didn't sing that.